I'm still trying to get us on. Still trying to get us on.
Okay, looks like we're live.
Looks
And
like we're,
what's that?
I'm gonna say, yes, I was just able to get online. Thank you.
Okay, great. Um, we've been doing these Saturday calls for a while, and looks like we're going over the highlights from our Wednesday accountability calls.
Yes,
Do you see us live on YouTube?
yes,
Okay. Um, this past week, there wasn't too much talk about the rental business. What we had been chatting about, or I mentioned that Zuber had asked a few of us to get feedback about the event, and because we were at the one rental at a time event this past week, and we got a lot of good feedback. I think the event was really great in general. The only the only things that the group came up with that night was, I think one of the things that irritated a few people was that there were people gathering and talking behind the audience, and it was hard to hear the speakers, the people talking. One of the suggestions was maybe to place more audio speakers in the back of the room behind the crowd, and thought that was a good suggestion. I know Zuber has had a challenge over the last couple of years because he has gone back and tried to quiet people down a little bit. And they quiet down for a little bit, but everybody's excited, so it's understandable. But one of the other suggestions was that maybe he could put monitors in some of the other rooms there at the blind center, because they do have several other rooms, and people could go and watch and chat if they wanted to in those areas. Um, there was also mention of the fact that it was hard to see the screen when people were putting up their slides when they were presenting. And so I'm not sure what they would do about that. It seemed like the lighting was hitting, from the ceiling, it was hitting that screen a little bit. The speakers do have monitors on both sides that they can read and work off of, but for the audience, that's probably something they need to figure out. And one thing that I forgot to mention to Zuber that I'll try to bring up later is the first year that we went, it was obviously people get there early in the morning. They did have coffee and water and some soft drinks and stuff. But the first year they were selling muffins and cookies and things, and those aren't the best breakfast, but it was something to help us get through till lunchtime. So maybe they could start doing that again. Um, all of the speakers were very good. He showcased a few people from the community, from uh, people we talk to, weekly. Cody Davis spoke first on Saturday, and his story has been great over the years. We saw him for the first time when Zuber had his first Fresno event a few years ago, probably maybe 5 years ago now. We met him and Zuber and Dion and Millennial Mike back then. Jared, our friend Jared, also spoke and about it's not called rent by the room, but it's that kind of a strategy. So he talked about, and he's only been doing it a couple of years, but now it was nice to see him up there because he's the man you go to if you have questions about that strategy. So that was really special. Um, we also heard from Brandon, who does build to rent in Texas. And I liked what he was sharing because he was talking about getting his children into the business, maybe not solely for the reason of becoming investors themselves, but to be able to manage, if anything ever happened to him or any of us really, to help them manage what he's building for them, to help them keep it going if they want to have the knowledge to keep it going. Was there anybody that stood out for you at the event as far as speakers went?
The lady from Venezuela. I really enjoyed listening to her. Really makes you stop to think about where you came from and where you are, and help you make a path to where you're going. It was also good to see a lot of the young people there. Um, it was good. It was good that they're interested, and just also makes you stop to think about the evolution of just the youth, because one of the young men we had lunch with, and he was talking about, he doesn't go out drinking and doing drugs and being foolish. He's focused on what his future is going to be. And as a teacher, that is so heartwarming. We watched Cody and two of the young men at a back table doing math problems. It's like you don't see stuff like that anymore. So it's it's good. It's nice that they came, that they're getting information. If I could give them one some advice, it would be, yes, this is all good and you're looking to your future, but don't forget to live for today. Enjoy today, enjoy your youth, go out, have fun, do whatever you guys do for fun. It can't be just focused looking to the future, because then what do you have from the past? You don't have anything. So she was good. It was good to see that. It was good to see Cody. It was really it was really nice to see people we hadn't seen in a while. It was nice to meet people who I only get their voice. And it was funny because who was the one that said, that's always teasing and telling you just to wait, or to wait till Vegas, or not Alex, but
Bill?
yeah, and I didn't connect it until after he walked away. I was like, oh, I had things to say. But so that was nice. It was nice to meet those people. It was nice to see um, quite a few people. So that was good. Speaker wise, it was, everyone had something to share, and it was just up to you whether or not you listened to and paid attention to those nuggets that they were giving you. So I think everyone who presented did a good job.
Yeah, I think there was a young lady that was wearing the cowboy hat. Um, she had an interesting story, and it was exciting to hear how she got started. It was a little bit hard to understand her at times because of her accent, but her and one of the, I guess the other woman who spoke, maybe the other two, are people that Zuber follows. So he wanted to introduce them to the group. And I think Jason Hartman was pretty good. I keep forgetting that he has a group as well, and they help investors find properties also. Um, so that was nice to be reconnected with him. I know who else? Oh, we got to see Ryan and his wife Keisha talking about their journey, and I I thought it was pretty cool how they were talking about running their business, and they became a little disconnected in their personal relationship. But it was so nice to see that they seemed to be figuring it out and coming back together because they realized, I guess they always knew that that was the most important thing, but to be able to not let it um, come between them and not come back together. So I think that that was pretty powerful. I liked listening to Dr. Jeff, talking about what he and Zuber did for Zuber over the past year. It made a lot of us think about our health. And I was just talking with a friend the other day about um, she started focusing on her health. She's not old, but and it was nice because a lot of me, I think about the health thing, like I'll take care of it when we're, better off financially or whatever that might be. But it takes time to get healthier too. So I think I need to start sooner rather than later. Um, so there's a lot of different things that I came away with from the event. Uh, it was really nice to connect with a lot of these people that we have met online and meet them in person and get deeper into their stories. I think I was telling a few people in the group that, we the side conversations that we always hear about, those are super special. It was really nice chatting with, Charles and his wife and hearing more about their story. I always love chatting with Jen. Um, she's just, I don't know, we just really love her. And Kenny and Casey is a riot. He was there. He's from the Bay
Oh
Area
my
as
gosh.
well.
That man just, he is just his energy and I just love so much talking to him. He has a whole different perspective on life. And it's funny because you watch him as he's talking and he knows that it's almost like one of my kids. It's like he knows what he's going to say is going to get a reaction. And that's not why he says it, because you can see him processing what he's going through. So it's like he's just throwing out there what his thoughts are. And then he looks at me and he starts laughing. He goes, "Okay, so tell me, what should I be doing?" So it was just so refreshing to see that it wasn't filtered because, obviously we all should and do filter what we want to say. But yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting point you just made because, we, I won't say any names, but some of the people that we met, I, when they spoke, it was unfiltered. And that was so refreshing for me because, it, I know there are certain instances where you say something and it's really against the grain, or you're worried that people might not want to keep being around you if they hear the truth. But I really appreciated the conversations that we were having with some of our friends, at breakfast and lunch. And um, I don't know, at least you know where they stand and they know where you stand, right? And if you appreciate the fact that they're speaking their true feelings and you guys still click, then I think that's a really special relationship being built. So I really appreciate that. And I'm gonna get a hold of all of them that I'm talking about and let them know, that not to stop being who they are, for
right.
fear of somebody else's opinion or anything like that. Um, so um, we did get to spend a lot of great time with everybody that we were hoping to meet. We met Big Val, Big Andy. Um, I see J6 here. It was really special to meet him in person. He's a nut. Um,
Yes, he is. And
and
Flavio, I enjoyed. I would have liked to spend more time chatting with Flavio because that man has a lot to share. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked. But he's a pretty bright gentleman who is running everything himself, making the repairs, doing everything himself, and yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible. Um, uh, we yeah, we didn't get to spend as much time with him as we had hoped. We might just have to go to Washington and spend some time with him. We got to meet Jack and his wife. That was really nice. We've been talking for a couple of years now, and we always hear about his Cynthia, but it was really special to meet her in person. Um, there was a lot. I was just talking about Corby Carter. He was at the Denny's meetup. Um, and Denny's was really cool too because, again, just the side conversations, finding out about people and um, what they do and how they're trying to make it work. Excuse me. I got to talk to um, Andy for a while, and that was really nice. He and his wife were there at Denny's, so it was just really special overall.
It was very nice, very nice.
Do you have any comments yet?
Um, I have just a lot of nice to meet yous. It's interesting because after meeting people, you can really see their sense of humor.
Mhm.
It's like I have people and names and their comments I can now put together. Um, Let me see. Jack said something that surprised me is that I kept hearing how tall Frank is, and I was expecting him to be 6'7" and tower above me, and he wasn't 6'7". Um,
I think Janelle had a question about meetups in Fresno. we I don't know of any in Fresno, but um, Janelle, you're in school, right? Because you can direct message Zuber and ask him. He would be the one that would know about that. Um, Carlos, the handyman that works with Zuber, he's on Instagram, and he would be another good resource to find out about meetups there. If any of you other guys know any other way to find out about meetups in Fresno, that would be great. Um, yeah, and we got to spend a lot of great time with Jason and John Litz, and we got to meet Lindsay, in person for the first time. She's amazing. She's
Lindsay and all the girls. Oh my goodness, they're amazing.
yeah,
All the ladies, all of them, the things that they're doing, eating, all of them. I mean, I can't even name them all. Just the things that they're doing and the way they look at things. It's like that's that other half that sometimes you the men forget about. It's like, yeah, that was pretty amazing.
yeah, yeah. Lindsay, Ashley, Eden, um, and
Violetta,
yeah, Violetta was there.
Michelle, I missed Anna. Um, yes, and even some of the women who are like me, not in 100% involved with what everything that's going on, like the day-to-day stuff, but are in the background supporting what have you. It was I wonder sometimes if you guys being men, meaning men, not being men, meaning men, um stop and use those resources because there was a lot of stuff that I think if if you don't stop and listen to what they're saying and how they're thinking things through, you're missing some good opportunities, just some of the as I was talking to them, some of the things that came up, I'm like, hey, that happens with us too. And, this is how I work through it. How do you work through it? And we were able to get some information back and forth with each other, which was nice. But yeah, if you have that partner, someone, whether it's a partner or just somebody else who you can bounce ideas of the opposite sex, then you're going to get a whole different perspective on what's going on.
Yeah, I was, I guess, pleasantly surprised about, 'cause some of the guys talk about how their wives are not really into it or whatever. But when we were having lunch with a couple of those wives, they were pretty dialed in. And I think, I don't know, maybe their husbands didn't give them enough credit, or maybe their husbands didn't realize that they were listening, and, that they want to help their families as well.
Exactly. And they want to help their partner or whatever you want to call it. They want to help them. They do. It's just it's being willing to listen and hearing that harsh. Sometimes they're going to say, that really doesn't make sense. Or are you sure we should be doing this? Yeah, sometimes you got to put that little male ego to the side and listen. But not that any of our people would have a male ego, right?
Yeah,
Not you, but I'm saying just overall.
yeah. There was a big group that was meeting. We got in there Wednesday. I think Mark was there Tuesday, but there was a big group that he had hanging out, and we got to join him one evening and meet some people that some other people in the group that we don't deal with all the time. That was nice. Max Littner was there. Dylan Pettyjohn was there. Um, and of course, Curtis and that group. We got to hang out with Dion and Millennial Mike for a little bit at lunch, and so that was a lot of fun. We did a little bit of recording with them. So I think overall it was pretty good. They're looking for recommendations. I think Zuber and Mark and a bunch of people are going to be in school tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for a Q&A session. And so if anybody has questions, maybe Janelle, if you're available to be on that call tomorrow, that could be a good opportunity to ask about the Fresno meetups. Um, I think so. I think that's it for that. There's a couple of comments. It looks like Chris Webb.
Yeah, he said, Rachel's not all about the numbers or management, but she is fully supportive of our community. And I said, yeah, that's what I was talking about, Chris, that you have somebody who's supportive, who you can bounce ideas off of, ask questions, ask, does this make sense? Am I missing something? Because we individually can only get stronger if we are honest and open and willing to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as a couple, we can only get stronger and help each other to be better if we're willing to do that. So I agree, Jack. Chris, I think that's great. Jack said, I think it comes down that since the spouse isn't moving at their speed, that they think they aren't on board. They forget that they, in some cases, have a 3-year head start in all of this. Exactly. Uh, I still, will be listening to somebody on a podcast or whatever, and I'll stop and I'll say, okay, what does that mean again? And then it's like, oh yeah, I get it. And that's exactly it. If you're not in it daily, you're not going to remember all of that stuff. And sometimes it takes someone to ask, what does that mean for you to stop and think about, okay, wait a minute. Am I doing what this is, or do I just know what it is and it's like in the background? So that's a good point.
Yeah, I think we
I,
don't.
I was, I'm sorry, I was amazed at how when we were sitting with people at lunch or whatever, and the spouse or partner or whatever was sitting with us and were quiet as everybody else was talking. And then as soon as someone asked them a question, how they lit up and they shared that information. And I was like, I myself looked at them like, there you go, speak up. This isn't about him, it's about both of you, and you have things to say, be willing to open up. And I remember the first year, well, when we were in Fresno, it was like I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, these people, why aren't well, it goes both ways because in Fresno, there were women who were the strong partner in all of that. And the boyfriend or husband was just sitting back, listening and not really inputting anything. And of course, I don't know what they discuss outside of the meetings. I don't know that. But you could just tell it's like, okay, come on, give them something so that they can give that input because that input is very important. If to nothing else, to your relationship. And that was the message that Ryan and his wife were saying, you have to nurture that relationship. You can't just leave them in the dust. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you made me think, and I wonder, I don't know if men are naturally more stubborn than women, but
I can answer that one. Yes, they are.
you don't need to answer that because that's not what this is about. What I'm going to say is, so you mentioned Fresno, right? And there was a young lady sitting in front of us that I think she invests in Cincinnati or something, but she was fairly popular at the time. And so if the female partner is the one leading the charge in the investing front and the husband or boyfriend isn't so on board, do you think that it takes or it's harder to bring the male around than it does if the male is leading the charge and the wife or girlfriend isn't too into it? It just seems to me that if the man has started, that the wife or girlfriend comes on board faster or easier than the boyfriend or husband would if the lady was leading. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think well, I think it comes down to how you were raised. Because if you were raised in a family where whatever the husband says is the final word and there is no discussion, then it would be harder. But if you grew up either you grew up or you learned how to have a relationship where it's give and take, then that's going to be the difference.
Hmm. And yeah, as you were saying that, I think too, relationships are very different from when you and I grew up, right? The whole mentality of husbands and wives was different back then. And now hopefully it's more open and hopefully people are communicating better, realizing it's okay to say your piece and work through the problem and move on instead of arguing and separating or anything like that. So
True
that
too.
kind of,
Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say that kind of leads me into the direction of some of these questions that I was thinking about. Um, so, folks know that, well, you'll be retiring in a few months, which I'm super excited about. And I think it's brought on some nerves for you. Um, what are you, if it's okay for me to ask, what are you thinking about that?
I'm trying not to.
Right.
I'm trying not to because there's a lot to it. I mean, you don't just walk out the door. Being a teacher, I have a room full of things that I have to bring home and what have you. And it's now going to be March, and we have until May, end of May, to get everything done and teach and connect with the kids. And as I said in the past, my school is closing. So having to put that extra time in with parents, yeah, it's a little overwhelming. And when I get like that, then I tend not to do anything. I just tend to like shut it all out and not do anything and say it'll get done somehow.
Mhm.
And so there's just a lot. There's a lot. So there's that part. There's the, I don't see myself getting bored when I'm retired, but I could. There's that possibility, especially when it's cold out and rainy and you can't go outside and do anything. So there's that part. And then there's going outside and being overwhelmed with everything that's outside. Then there's what am I going to do to bring some additional income in? And there's all of that to deal with. Yeah, there's a lot. And then you think about all the new things that are happening with Social Security. So you have to stay on. That's the whole thing with Social Security. You have to stay on top of what's happening so that you can make sure that your income isn't affected or increase if you deserve an increase that it automatically happens. So there's a lot of parts to it.
Um, yeah, there is a lot, seeing you go through that. And I guess what I was thinking or maybe hoping was that you'll be able to relax, and I know sometimes that takes time, and I know you're concerned about finances and stuff like that, but you're it's going to happen, right? You're going to be
I
done
know.
with work. So
I know.
hopefully you'll be able to um, relax and take the time you need to figure out your new routine and things like that. Um, I've mentioned before that at least with you retired, it will actually be easier for me to go out and continue working because I know you're good and you don't have to get up every day and face that every day. So I'm looking forward to it. Um, it looks like there was a comment or two in here.
Okay, so I think Mark needs to get off his little high horse there and say that I need to be up there to present with you. Mark, you know I don't like doing that, so don't push it. If Frank wants to get up there, I'm all for it. I'll be supportive. I'll be rooting him on. Don't make me say I'm not coming, Mark. So just get off. And Mikey, you don't get a vote because you weren't even there. So no.
I
And wait a second, I'm not done. And Mikey, we didn't even have ice cream without you. So right now you're on that border of milk carton. So be careful, Mikey. There. Now I'm done.
um, I think there would be much better presenters than because I always feel like, and I've said it recently to the group that our channel is about sharing our struggles, so people come into it aware. But I feel like most of the time we're scaring people away from investing. So if I ever did speak in front of the crowd, I think that would be in the back of my mind, like, I hope I'm not scaring people away, but this is really what you need to think about if you're going to become an investor.
Well, you know,
Um,
not only scaring them away, but um yeah, not just scaring them away, but so many people have already know our story. I think that's one of the things that, and I know there's people who don't, I understand that. But as I sit and I listen to all these presenters and stuff, it's like, okay, I heard that, I heard that, I heard that, I heard that. I need something new. And personally, me only, have nothing new to add. Our story is our story. It's not going to change. History is history. We talk about what our future is, what we're planning for the future, but other than that, Yeah, I would get bored hearing our story again.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we lived it, we've talked about it all these years. And since this is being recorded, I just want to clarify that I am 61, not
Oh, sorry.
63. I just look like I'm 63.
Sorry, I was just trying to get you. Sorry, 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 sorry. I think it was just a mistype.
Yeah. Oh, there's John from
I
Reno,
know there's
Nevada. It
John.
was great to spend time with him. Um,
I just want to say, Mikey, you are being very vocal on this, and you better watch it because you're saying I couldn't believe that I got on stage. I only got on stage because they made me come up, and you notice I was towards the back. So you need to stop, Mr. Honda.
I was really surprised, but pleasantly surprised. It was nice to have you up there with me. Um,
And misery loves company. Is that the thing?
yeah, well, you know, in a small way, you got to connect with Carlos's wife. I think their
Oh my
story,
gosh, they were amazing. Oh my gosh. You see, now those are stories that inspire. That and the Venezuela lady, those stories inspire. They really make you stop to think about your challenges and what do you believe in? And see, those things I can get behind, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, that was really great. And I think that's where maybe the next year will be going. I think a lot of us appreciate hearing from others in the group, either at our level or a little bit above or below. I think there's a lot of great information that can be shared that way. I was going to say too that, Mark did an interview with the lumberjack, and one of the things that they talked about that they would do if they started again would be not to buy so much so fast. And that was part of our story too. We shouldn't have bought so much so fast. But
But
when
yes,
you're trying to share that, and people won't listen for some reason. People
no.
just don't listen to that, and that's a shame. But that's one of
You,
the biggest things that we could have done better.
you know what was interesting? Well, and our situation is different than others because yes, we are older, retirement, blah blah blah. But I think, well, so there was a new investor and there was three of us who were talking to him. Ashley and Eden and I were speaking with him in the foyer, and he was talking about he just got his first house hack, and by the end of the year he's going to get another one, and blah 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 blah. And we looked at each other like, no. And we were really brutally honest with him and said, if you go too fast, you're gonna run. If you don't have a bag of money sitting there for repairs, you're gonna end up slowing your progress and making big mistakes. And we tried to give him as much reality as possible. And you could just see, and this is something that I've talked about with everyone, is that you see that glaze of excitement of, yeah, I got my first one. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm gonna buy, I'm gonna buy, I'm gonna buy. And they don't listen. They don't, it doesn't sink in because it's like that shiny wonderful thing out there that I have to run towards. And I can't walk because if I walk, then I'm going to miss out. But deals and stuff are going to come. They're going to be there. The housing market isn't going to dry up. So he has plenty of opportunity to grow slow and grow with purpose and grow with, all the good things. He has that opportunity. And to hear him and to watch him, I thought, yeah, he's going to get himself in trouble and then he's going to drop out. And that's what happens, you know?
Yeah, and he looked fairly young. I think part of the reason that I made that mistake for us was I was already 57, right? So our runway isn't as long as a lot of the younger folks where they have time for principal pay down to really help them, appreciation, and those kinds of things, and just having time in the market. So I thought I needed to get as much as quickly as possible because we were later in life. I know, and Mark did the same thing. He was younger when he did it, but he still had a painful first couple of years.
Yeah,
And luckily, and he talked about how, and we've done the same thing where we've had to kind of juggle, maybe you getting 0% interest credit cards to help you through situations, borrowing from a relative, which I did, and things like that. So I don't know what it would take to help someone, to help a new person understand that, but uh, all of us who have been through it are trying to warn them and educate them and show them the reasons why they shouldn't do it. And if they
right.
listen, that's good. But
Yep.
and did Alex have a comment in there?
Yes. Oh, do you want me to read it?
I was wondering if he would clarify it because I didn't
It's
quite understand.
it says it's because those people, because I was talking about the people who inspire me, the people who share their story. And he says it's because those people inspire you, but might not have the same impact on others. And I said, yes, I'm speaking about me. You would ask about, you know, what I got out of it or something. So yeah, those two speakers specifically inspired me. So there's there was two parts, three parts, two parts to this event this year. There was the real estate part where people were talking about, Jared was talking, what have you. And then there was the flip side, the take care of yourself with your health and inspiration story. So when we went in to Fresno, there was only real estate. There was none of those other stories really. I mean, we had Cody and what was his partner's name? Cody and Christian. They gave us some of their little bit of their history, but not really enough. It was all real estate centered. This last year, it had a combination of the three. It was real estate, it was the inspiration stories, and it was all about your health and well-being. So I was talking about the inspiration part and that
Mhm.
those two really, really resonated with what I was thinking. That's all.
Yeah, I I don't think, well, besides the people from our group, like, you know, um, Cody and Jared and Brandon, uh, Ryan and his wife, I didn't really take away too much from any of the other speakers except for Dr. Jeff. Um, so I guess there's always going to be, you know, different attractions for different people. Um, but yeah, I had a great conversation with Kyle Dorn and his, I don't know, are they married? I don't know. But
Who?
Taylor,
Oh, I don't know.
Kyle Dorn and his girl Taylor, I think she's amazing. She's doing a lot of the rehab work in their market. She's looking to get her first rental I think this year. So that was really nice chatting with them. Um, so yeah, so I mean, kind of getting back to the retirement thing, I was thinking too that because a lot of people in the group had reached out after Dion mentioned that he might be moving from Washington, and I thought, and I was chatting with a few other people from Washington, and I was letting them know that I guess it seemed like Dion was the only reason we were going to Washington, but we have a lot of friends in the group, that were why we were considering the state, or I was considering the state, Michelle, and then we tease Michelle because she wants to spend half her time in
Oh,
Colombia, I think,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
and
somewhere. Uh-huh.
so we were teasing her, once we get up there, you guys are all leaving. Why should we go? But I came to the realization a while back that wherever we go, we need to um, make it the best decision for us. And maybe Washington's not it, but and that's been a real, I not a pain point, but part of the struggle because we're really spoiled with our weather here in California. That's the biggest thing, the weather. And then I think that almost comes before cost of living, although it shouldn't, but cost of living is the next thing. Um, we've talked about the fact that we can't pick our neighbors, so should we rent for a while wherever we're going to go? But then you don't want to keep moving. We have the cat, and we don't want to keep moving him either. Um, so I don't know. Like you said earlier, there's so many things to consider that you get overwhelmed and then you just don't do anything. And that's not a good place to be. So, some of the thoughts about the retirement, is there anything that feels more urgent now because it's a couple months away for you? Um, Maybe some things that feel less important than they used to. With that one, I think there are quite a few things that are less important for me now, right? Is just as long as we're together, it doesn't really matter where we're at. As long as we can get by. So um,
Jack's so funny. He says, does that mean coming to Pittsburgh is back on the list? I said, no. Jack, I hate to tell you this, but it was never on the list, ever, ever.
yeah, so
I don't know why, for some reason, I always thought that Jack, I mean, I know I've known for a while, but at the beginning, I always thought Jack was in Washington.
hmm,
Maybe that's something for the future. Maybe he'll move to Washington.
I think he mentioned that once, actually.
Maybe that's where I got it from.
Yeah, we were talking with him once, and Washington came up.
Uh,
Um, so the other realization that I had come to weeks ago was that our portfolio is so new that we can't really fully rely on it yet. So, trying to figure out some other ways to make some money, which I've mentioned on these calls before. And even that, you and our son try to get me to concentrate on one thing and see it through. But there's always, I mean, there's so many options to try. We have the rental properties where I think YouTube monetization is probably not realistic. We've talked about eBay and affiliate links and consultation calls and things like that. So I'm diving into a lot of those different things, and it's probably not helping me move in any direction, in any positive direction, at least right now. It gets confusing, and then I stop and do nothing. Um, Sometimes now it just feels good to, you know, put those things on pause and just go to work. Concentrate on the stuff that I do, that I can do, and then come back to the other things later.
your cat's driving me crazy. He doesn't know if he wants to be in. He doesn't know if he wants to be out. You hear him?
The other thing that came to mind after talking to some people, everybody seems to have this 20,000 a month number, but I wonder, you know,
Wait a minute, 20,000 a month to live on?
20,000 a month coming in,
Oh,
and I wonder if that might hold you back a little bit because it seems like it's going to take quite a while to get to that level. Um, so I wonder if anybody really thinks about their realistic number, what they need each month to live on. Maybe if anybody has any comments about that.
yeah. Well, I think until you really stop and write down what your needs are, do you really realize what it is, yeah, how much you really need. Because like for instance, with us, we just thought, 20 doors for whatever reason. And then when you really start to look at what your needs are, how much you really spend, then you see, okay, um, maybe I don't need 20 doors. Maybe I only need, I don't know, 10 doors. Sorry, our cat's being fed. Maybe I only need 10 doors, or maybe when we were trying to figure out, maybe when you start to try to figure out, okay, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. When we started to figure things out, there were things that I was paying for that because you didn't have to deal with them, you didn't really think about them. And there were things that I knew you were paying for, but I really didn't think about the amount. So really, when we sat down and we started I made my list, you made your list, and we looked at it and went, whoa, that's a lot. And the sad thing is it's not a lot because we splurge on things or because we live extravagantly, but it's just life, you know? So I think until you really sit down and you are realistic about what your spending is and what you need or what you want to live comfortably on, can you really stop and say, okay, this is my goal? And I don't think anyone ever really talked about that in in the early stages. I mean, it was one of those passing know how much you need to live on kind of conversations, but there was really no more to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a really big challenge for me because I've been trying for months to create a not a budget, but to list everything we spend each month on whatever. And it's really hard. For example, like car insurance and stuff, right? That comes every 6 months or whatever it is. Some people say if you put everything on a credit card, then you can track it that way and figure out what you're spending on um, whatever it might be, apps, subscriptions, those kinds of things. Um, so that's been really tough. I always start fresh each year trying to do it, and hanging on to receipts and different things like that is just really, really hard. So I haven't gotten it down yet. The other side is I'm afraid to know the real number
Uh,
because I think that might be a tough realization. I think it looks like John had a question for you.
hold on, I'm answering something. So keep going, please.
Um, so the budget is a goal of mine. Um, I've been doing okay at tracking the rental income since late last year, and we're going through a turnover right now in the triplex, and the numbers they sent me are just huge. I've seriously thought about going there and doing it myself. They're that high, so I don't know. I thought we were through the thick of it, and I think renovating this last unit in the triplex would be the last one, but it's still painful to put out all that money.
Yeah, it is. It is. So on top of the three things that I listed that are constantly on my mind, then there's real estate. And I know that the things that I'm going to do aren't going to help us necessarily to get more money. It'll get us, or to me, it'll get me organized so I know what's going on because you're organized in your own way. So, but it would help me to be organized and know what's going on. But that's added on the list, you know?
Mhm.
So that's now what, four big categories I need to focus on. Then I get overwhelmed and then I do nothing. Or go do things that have nothing to do with those four things. That's usually what happens. I go do things that have nothing to do with me getting ahead on any of those four major categories. John says, do I have hobbies or outlets that'll keep you busy in retirement? Stuff to focus on, perhaps something you haven't had time to do, but you can now focus on. And I do. I have 4 pages of a bucket list of things that I've wanted to do in my retirement because I didn't have time while I was working full time. So I mean, you got to remember everything you do, no matter how small, is going to take money. If you're doing your garden, it takes money to get started. Everything you do is going to take whatever amount, it doesn't matter. It's still going to take money, number one. I definitely have the time. And I also put on there that I like to try a lot of different things, but I don't master any one thing. Frank, on the other hand, is so stinking talented and creative that I just have to sit in awe and think, why? Why didn't I get that? My students laugh because when I draw on the board, my dog, my cat, my dinosaur, my sheep, all of those are the same shape, the same everything. I have to label them so they know what I'm talking about. So you know, that's not one of the things that I do well on, but yeah, so with that said, there's a lot of things I want to do. A lot of things I want to do.
Yeah.
And, and I do have a pile of wood that I'm going to do something with. I just don't know what. And I have to wait till Frank's at work because as much as I love this man, he will tend to take it and try to do it for me. And I want to do it by myself. The only thing I need him to help me do sometimes is set up whatever I'm using, like the saws and what have you. But that's it.
Yeah. Well, I've said before, I don't really have a lot of things that I want to do in retirement. I think I will take that first 6 months to 3 years to figure it out.
Wait, to 3 years? What are you nuts?
We've said I just enjoy being home. I don't mind tinkering around the house. There's little things I'd like to make, woodworking and things like that. Um, and like I've said before, those are some of the things that we're looking at that might help create some small streams of income to help us out.
Yeah, okay, so there's that sixth bucket that has to be dealt with. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that stuff works out. Let's see. Are there any other questions in there?
Uh, Not really. I think that's Jack says we all know that you'll be working on my bucket list. That's a definite. I really believe that we need to do things. Okay, I need to select the things that we do on my bucket list together because that helps to have a healthy relationship.
And that might not be healthy for some people. You never know. I mean,
But for us, it's going to be healthy.
for some people, it's better not to do everything together. Let's just say that. I
Yeah,
think,
that's why I said some things that you're going to be happy to do with me on my list. You're going to be happy.
yeah, I think it was on one of Dion's lives where he was talking about how couples that are in the military, when they get out of the military and um, start really living together, that there was a a big percentage that ended up getting divorced, and which is kind of sad, but
Yeah.
um,
There was somebody I was talking to at the event that made that point that, okay, sorry, Jack, I'm throwing you under the bus. So Cynthia said that because they're not husband and wife, and they both live separately. So he comes and visits and stays, a week or 2 weeks. And she's like, okay, after 2 weeks, it's like, okay, when are you leaving? Because they're not used to living together. Not that they're not good together and not that they don't complement each other, but they're not used to spending all that time. And they're both very independent people. Not that we're not independent, but they're very independent people. So yeah, that's a big thing. Well, think about it. You were doing your meetings and other things that were happening and the Saturdays or Sundays with Mikey. And seriously, I missed my time. It's like, okay, wait a minute. This is my time. Don't cut your meetings to an hour. I need my 3 hours to just do nothing or whatever. But yeah, and that's learning how to read each other and how to respect each other's space. Because just because you're a couple doesn't mean that you have to spend every stinking minute together. Although I do enjoy spending every minute with you.
so are you trying to say that I might show up alone next week? Because then nobody will show up.
No, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll take a trip on my own. Who knows? I don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen next week.
We, I don't know, crazy thought, but one of these days we might have to invite another couple to join us, to do one of these, to get their perspectives live as well. I think,
Sure, I would love it.
yeah, that would be fun. Um, so yeah, right now in our lives, it's really trying to figure out retirement stuff and make sure the rentals stay stabilized. Trying to keep work going because over the years, you know being in the remodeling business, the income is very inconsistent. Some months you do really great, and then that has to carry you through a month or two that's not so great. Um, so it's hard. Some of the stuff we listen to where people try to help you budget is nice if you have a consistent paycheck, because then at least you have a number every month that, whether it's good or bad, you can rely on. And for us, that's always been a challenge. And so on the years that we did do pretty well are the years that we were able to save up enough to buy a property or two. Now maybe we're looking at hopefully paying one or two of them off, um, to create greater cash flow, not necessarily a better cash on cash return, but where we're at in life, the cash flow is more important. And what else is going on?
Um, Nothing much.
You've actually been checking out some options for tutoring after you stopped teaching, which, I mean, you talk about me being good at certain things. I think you're excellent. You're an excellent teacher. You're one of the best that I've ever seen. I think um, that would be nice if because you do enjoy it, but if you could do it on your own hours or your own terms, I think you know, that could be a good place to create a little bit of income and not feel too much like work.
One of the things I was thinking about was doing online with English speaking learners. And because we're in wonderful California, which I do love California very much, but unfortunately, our politics get crazy. And it's not just California, there's a lot of states now that they've passed AB whatever that states that you cannot, I want to say teach, but yeah, you cannot teach certain areas of the country, which is kind of stupid, but it
Yeah.
is what it is. Just got to kind of move on with it and figure out. And I'm a very private person, so I really don't want students here because I am a very private person and I don't, yeah, I don't know. So there's a lot of things to look at for that. I don't know.
Yeah. I was surprised at how many states were on that list. Um,
Yeah.
and then too, you mentioned things that like, you know, um, if you did tutoring and you were going to take students here at our place, that, you know, you would want the parents to hang around with them, um, just for protection, that, you know, the kid doesn't say anything weird happened or anything like that, which I understand. I think I think your credibility speaks for itself with the parents and students that you've worked with all these years. But if any new person came in, you know, you definitely want to be a little cautious about that.
And then we have to also look at insurance with that because that's going to bump insurance up. So there's a lot, people say, oh, why don't you just do this? Well, there's a lot of different components to those things. You can't, like for that, it's going to increase our home insurance because now we're introducing other people into our homes as a business.
Like a
And please
business.
don't tell me, yeah, please don't tell me, just don't tell anybody. Please don't tell me that. So that's another aspect. There's a lot of different, there's a lot of moving parts to anything you do. So that's why sometimes I just say, oh, okay, I'm done with this. And I think of something else. Because sometimes they just all feel so overwhelming and I know if you don't start, you can't conquer any of these, but it's that getting started sometimes can be a real challenge.
Yeah. Um, I see Stephen P's comment. And yeah, Stephen, if you need an excuse, I always have projects that I need help with here. So just tell her you're coming to help me. I see Grumpy joined us. It was
Yeah.
good to see him. It was
Yes.
his interview with Dion. Um, and Mikey, I think, has a comment. What's that?
Yes, he says after Vegas, is there any takeaways you will that or sorry. Is there any takeaways you will change, implement for your portfolio?
Um, well, ours is still fairly new. Like I said, we bought the triplex in 21. We got the duplex in 22, and we got 4 single families in across 23 and 24. So now that we're seeing some stabilization, I think Matt, in his interview again with Mark, was talking about, um, once you see how they perform over a few years, you can see if there are any that you need to sell so that you can upgrade maybe to a nicer property or a nicer area, or sell one and pay off a couple, things like that. So it's nice that we'll hopefully have those options, not right away, but I would say in the near future, within 2 or 3 years. That can make a big difference for us as far as the cash flow. Um, Other than that, um, you know, I've also mentioned being a little gun shy at buying the next property, because if we get the opportunity, because of all the challenges we've had with the first ones that we bought. And I think you and probably Mikey were in on that conversation. And you know, basically reminded me, because of all the stuff that we've learned, we will do better on the next deal, on the next purchase, whatever it is. Um, but I think someone the other day, maybe it was Justin Canberra, was talking about how that as soon as you buy it, something's going to break.
Yeah.
There's always that. So again, like you mentioned earlier, having plenty of reserves will help us through those issues, like they have already, but we really used up all our reserves that we had in the beginning. Uh, Other than that, I don't think that was probably my biggest takeaway.
Um,
Um,
Jack said, Jack said, have you looked into homeschooling? That's a whole different beast because you have to be aligned with a school, whether it's public or private, and which means accreditation is part of that whole package. So that's a whole different beast for that.
yeah, so well, obviously, like we've been saying, we have a lot of stuff to figure out for our retirement. Hopefully, we can share that journey with a lot of the others. I know, not many of them are our age in the group, but um, they are going to get here someday. So hopefully, the information will help.
Yep, that would be nice to be able to share that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys in the chat don't have any other questions, we'll probably wrap up. And don't forget, tomorrow in school, they're going to be doing a Q&A session. And tomorrow, Jim is in school with his group call. And I don't know. I don't think there's anything else uh, really going on. But I think we'll see most of you on Wednesday's call. I hope we had a good group last week, and I hope people come with some questions or topics that they want to discuss. Maybe they need help with something, but we're always um, we're always hoping to help. So I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you guys for watching and commenting, and thank you again for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Wait a second. Um, Jason said, good to hear your voices again. And Jack says, oh no, now we're gonna have to wait to see you guys till Wednesday. You will see Frank on Wednesday, Jack. You will not see me. That is my time. But you will have a good time. And it says and Grumpy says, is that on Mark's YouTube or in school? It's not on the calendar. You're welcome, Stephen.
Yeah, it's that's a good question. I thought it was in school. Mark, if you're still there, can you let us know?
Have a good weekend, Jack. Thank you.
Um, yeah, we'll hang out a minute to see if Mark replies, but I think it was going to be in school. He and Zuber mentioned it on Thursday when they did their video. Let
So
me
what are your
ask.
plans for today? While you're doing that, what are your plans for today?
Mine?
Yeah.
Um, I don't really have any plans. I think I need to get the van in shape for this coming week. I just threw everything in there after my last project, and it's a little unorganized.
Mikey says he believes it's on Mark's YouTube.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll find it either way, but it's at 8. It's from 8 to 10 in the morning Pacific.
Tomorrow?
So, yeah, Sunday. Okay, yeah, I'm sure we'll find him either way. So thank you again. Thank you everybody for jumping in with us. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. We appreciate it.